try and put in one online on-site in Denmark, on-site in Copenhagen in November. I will also try and put in a online there in November or December, start December, where we can get time to it. Yes. And then the coming events, I put in our region, in June, there's a Nordic Test Forum. I will be there at least. I hope I see a lot of you too here in Stockholm. Then there is a GLA Summit online. I think still open for presenters, as I understand, but else at least you can sign up. It's 24 hours with presentations. And if anybody have anything to add to these here that I'm forgetting or want to say later, then please raise your hand, and then I will try and get it. Oh, Jesper is raising a hand. Do you have something to say?
Regarding the GLA Summit, they usually take presentations almost up to the event itself, usually because they have room for all the presentations that you can come up with. So that's really useful, and it is a really nice venue. You get to talk to a lot of people who are around the globe, and there are some really cool presentations. So I can only encourage people to join in.
Yeah, I agree. I will definitely be there. And then Jack have something.
No, just a comment on the Nordic Test Forum. If you are not able to attend in Stockholm, there is an alternative the week before in Eindhoven in the Benelux. So if you would like to attend but is not able to travel to Stockholm, there is an alternative in the Benelux the week before. I can put that also in the chat, so you have that link as well.
Yeah. Very good. It's very good information. And then there's GDF-Con, the user group of user groups. For that, I will just have another, just very short say about. Well, yes, short about the GDF-Con. It's in Brighton, very close to London Gatwick Airport. I think half an hour in a bus. Cheap flight there. Okay, a cheap hotel, so it's not a big thing to go there. There'll be a lot of presentation. There's one big room, so all the presentation everybody will hear in the morning, and then in the afternoon there'll be huddle session, group session, where it's more like getting in and work on a problem or discuss a project. There's a tech cave, there's social event, and then maybe there's a new one coming. It's a LabVIEW Launchpad, we are calling it. It's for new persons to LabVIEW where there will be 1 day of training with hands-on training session with NI hardware, and then there will be 2 days together with the rest of the event with presentation and huddle sessions. And I would say if you have a new person that should learn LabVIEW, then I would probably let them take the normal courses online, and then rather send them here, because you really get somebody back who have filled the hardware LabVIEW and their brain when coming back from GDF-Con. And there is this opportunity for younger LabVIEW developers here. That was some of the presentation was maybe over the head for them. We will take them the first day, and then the more general presentation we will take the 2 next days. So think about that. I hope I see a lot of you there. And then you can also take certification exams for a discounted rate. And now we just heard from NI that you can you have some old certification, you can probably get them back with points or recertified with points. So it's a good chance to get up to a higher level in the LabVIEW certification. And there is early bird. It's ending Sunday, I think. So you have to be fast if you want early bird price. Else, I think it's £100 more when you purchase it in next week or later. So a good offer now.
Just an additional thing to that,
Yeah.
Anders, regarding the certification. The reason for that being at GDevCon is that NI have stopped doing online certification. So it would either be going to GDevCon or you would have to go to Munich in May, which is currently the state. I can see, Eli, you have an answer to that.
Yeah. I thought you would talk about it, so it's, yeah, Eli, come.
No, I just want to clarify. We have paused the online certifications while we switch to a different tool. So we're going to bring that back. It's going to be way, way better. There's lots of negative feedback about the current experience, but we are also keen to expand the number of opportunities for in-person certification. So just wanted to clarify, virtual will be back and hopefully way better than it was.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you. And then if there is any news of CNRoot at NI, I know at least Adam would like to have a minute or two from NI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to share? You can just share, or else I can pin you to.
Just talking real quick. I just wanted to say hi to everyone and introduce myself. So my name is Adam Roig. I am based in Austin with NI. I've been with NI for a little over 5 years. Joined Eli's team on the software community back in March. So I'm a little under 2 full months in. Yes. I am focused on making, helping to grow and expand the NI LabVIEW and software community throughout EMEA. My main focus is EMEA, and then I also have some countries in APAC. So like Anders was mentioning earlier, you know, we would love to have people in person, and we would love to be able to help, you know, these groups grow and hopefully be able to, you know, come together annually, you know, or something online, but then also have these in-person forums as well. And so, you know, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to be a partner to the leaders of the group and you know, to make sure that if you guys need anything from NI, that I am here to be that person and that partner to respond and to make sure that you guys are getting what you need. Like if you want Eli to talk about whatever he is talking today on the new updates from NI, you know, I'm a good way for you to get a hold of him if you can't get a hold of him, or to just, you know, if you just want to chat about NI and LabVIEW and things, you can always reach out to me. But yeah, I didn't want to break the flow of this. I just wanted to introduce myself. So you should be seeing me regularly at these things. And then, you know, if you need anything from me, I'm more than happy to set up some time and meet offline as well, or away from this meeting as well. So just wanted to say that. And you know, thank you everybody for giving me a minute. And yeah, I'll turn it back.
Yep.
Anders, maybe I can say a very quick word. My name is René Voorhorst. I have been 25 years with NI and living in the Nordics and Benelux. Some of you may know me. I have recently taken on the role as country sales manager, as we call that, in the Nordics and the Benelux and the Baltics. This is one of many investments that we're doing right now to get more intimate with the local communities and the local customers and partners again. So I am basically trying to set up this organization in this region, and if you want my help, feel free to reach out. I really appreciate these type of events. Is super important for for the region to see this excitement of the communities. And again, I hope to see you also at the test forum, either in the Nordics or the Benelux.
Yes, thank you. We will take Jack.
Yeah, maybe before we get started, I also just wanted to say my thanks to NI for hosting me at NI Connect last week. It was a really awesome event. And I just wanted to share one key takeaway that I took from the event overall, because there was a lot of interesting topics that was discussed and presented. But I think my key takeaway from NI Connect last week was Ritu Favre, the president of T&M Group in NI Amazon. She clearly communicated out in her keynote that NI is moving the needle and becoming the LabVIEW company again. And I think that's a key message. And it's also a message around NI going back to some of the DNA you saw from NI in the past. So what you will see moving forward, and I'm not going to steal your thunder, Eli, is NI heavily investing in new technology across the board, but also really reinvigorating the community, including the NI community at the academia level. Plus, extending or echoing what Renee is calling out, you will see much more support from NI in your local area moving forward. So be on the lookout for more energy and more, you can say, support from NI. And of course, your local partner, CNRoot. Okay, I'll pass that back to you, Anders. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I will just, before we are going into the first presentation, maybe if as many of you could show have your camera on, then we can see everybody. I think it would be good. Now we are not having the small groups, then maybe we could take a little, say hi to each other. Sorry about that. It's you're not hearing what I'm saying. Yes, I would like, now we are not in, don't have the small groups. I would like as many of you to turn on your camera so we can see who we are talking to. I think it's the most we are getting, like, of course, there's somebody talking. So turn on the camera if you have your camera off. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
So
So it's good to see that there are so many. I think we are 60 people now in the, or 59 and chatbot. Yeah, there's a lot of people I've seen before here. So just you can scroll through the windows and see who is online, and most of them we have a picture on. It's nice to see everybody. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, everybody.
And then we will go to the first one, and that is Jens Christian.
Yes.
First presentation. I will just let you take over, and then you will show who is our have your pinned so everybody can see you until you are sharing. I think you can share whenever you want.
Great. So yeah, thank you for letting me present at this meeting. And as you can see in the headline, it's something about TestStand, and you can see I have the TestStand API poster behind me right here, at least virtually. So I've done a lot of TestStand work in my career. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Just a second here. Let's see here. So it's going to be this one. And so do you see my screen now?
Yep.
Great. Okay, let's get started then. So I'm going to talk about custom step types for TestStand today, and about how to make custom step types. But first, I'll just do a short run-through introduction of what it is and when to make custom step types. Let's see if I can actually change screens here. Short on me. I'm Jens Christian. I live in Denmark. I work for G-Power, done so for 10 years now. And as you can see, I've also worked with LabVIEW and TestStand for quite some years. So the topics of this presentation, just a run through of those. So let's look at what is actually a custom step type for TestStand. When should you consider creating one? When you want to create one, what are the requirements, scope, and functionality that you should consider? And then we dive into like what is some of the internals, the data inside a step type that you need to know about. And functionality and configuration is actually where I go a little bit out of a limb here, because I'm going to attempt to create a custom step type in TestStand live in a virtual machine as you are watching. So let's see how that goes. And then I will talk a little bit about deployment and maintenance at the last subject here. And if we have time, there can be some questions in the end, I hope. Okay, so let's look at this. What is a custom step type? So TestStand actually ships with many step types, which you can see here in the insertion palette of TestStand. And you can just drag one of those into your sequence, and then you have a new instance of a step in your sequence, which you can then configure in the step settings pane in the bottom of your sequence editor screen. Like here for the message pop-up, you can type in something you want to display when it shows as your sequence is running. Right. So custom step types are kind of the same, except that you are the one making them. So you can build your own step types, and you can have them displayed here in the insertion palette together with all the built-in step types. And you can also just drag them here from your insertion palette and into your sequence. So this is a LabVIEW user group, and the step types that we're going to look at here is also made with LabVIEW, or rather the code modules that run in the step types are made with LabVIEW. But when you do that, when LabVIEW, you don't get to use the nice step configuration thing in the bottom of the screen. In the bottom, you just get this kind of an edit button you can press, and then you can open a VI front panel to configure your step types. So because it's LabVIEW, you can't use the fancy edit stuff down here, only this one. When you press this button, you open a predefined VI front panel that you have decided when you created your step type. This is an example from G-Power. This is how it could look. It could look in many different ways. You can do the layout of your VI front panel as you like, but you can configure your step here, and then you can press the OK button to save the configuration into your sequence. So that's the basics, sorry, of what a custom step type is when you work with this in TestStand. I hope some of you already know about this or know about TestStand and step types in general, or else this might be a little bit difficult to understand. So when should you create a custom step type? So actually, when I was preparing for this presentation, this headline was different. It was like, when should you use a custom step type? But then I thought, well, if you already have a custom step type that is made for the instrument you're going to use, then you should, of course, use it. I mean, that's the thing. If it's already there, don't do anything else. So only if you're in the progress of having to use some kind of hardware, whatever, for which you do not have a step type, then you should consider maybe making one. Maybe you can get away with just creating an action VI, an action step to start with, but at some point you might want to consider using or creating a custom step type. And as I see it, there are two major scenarios where you would go into this consideration. The first one is refactoring. If you have some code that has been running in your sequence for some time, like an action step in a sequence, and maybe the complexity of the code or the requirements for the ability of, to configure the behavior of the step has grown over time, it could be that it's being increasingly difficult to actually maintain this step as you would like to. So this would be a good point where I would start, okay, maybe I should like refactor this code into a custom step type and make it into that instead. The other scenario is if you're building a new test platform. If you're a test platform developer and you are building this new test platform based on TestStand for your multi-team company, where maybe many teams in many different sites will be developing test sequences using this test platform. You might want to make sure that they are consistent in how they build the sequence and which tools they use to build the sequence with. And that could be a reason to create a bunch of custom step types for your sequence developers to make sure that their work is easier and more consistent throughout your company. I need some water. Right. So let's say that you have decided now that you want to create your own custom step type. Then you have to consider these points here: requirements, scope, and functionality. So in that way, this is not much different than in any other software development tasks that you might be doing. So the first part here is requirements. So you have to be clear about what is the requirement for your step. Like, must it be thread safe? I would say in most cases I make the step types thread safe. It means that they can run in parallel executions in your sequences, so you can have more instances running at the same time. It must be able to include its results in a report if it produces any results that needs to go into reports. And of course, you must make sure that it's compatible with the TestStand version or versions that you use in your company. You have to be clear about what the responsibility of this step type is also. So that's part of the scope, the purpose, and the responsibility. You should try not to cram too much responsibility into one step type, because then it might be very difficult to maintain and difficult to use in time. So it's very clear. It should be very clear what it should be, what the scope and the function of it is. And that brings us to the last one, which is functionality. You need to know what your users are going to use this for, and you should try to only perform one function in each step instance that you put into your sequence with your step type. So this is a bit like every other kind of software development task that you might do. If you modularize it, if you make it clear what is where's the boundaries between different functions, different interfaces, then it's much easier for you to work with and maintain going forward. Okay. The next part here, we dive a bit more into what is how is the step type defined inside TestStand, so to speak. So this is a screenshot from the type view in TestStand, and here we have a view of 4 step types. I'll just try to find the laser pointer here so I can point to what I'm showing here. So here we have 4 step types. The step types in TestStand should be stored inside a type palette file, so that you have one place that you say, this is where I go to edit this step type when I want to change it or do something with that. So you can have like one or several step types in the same type palette file. In this case, we have all 4 of these in the same type palette file. So each step type will have some data in it. It's called properties in TestStand. And this is an example of properties in this step type called write tag here. And these properties, they can be, in general, they can be grouped into 3 groups. One of them here is the built-in properties. They are properties that are just part of all step types in TestStand. They are mandatory, defined by TestStand. They must be here, because if they're not here, then this is not a definition of a step type. They are the same, and they cannot be changed in the step instances that you might be working with in your sequences. Then there are something that called default properties, and they are also mandatory and part of the definition of the step type. But when you drag your step into your sequence, these are properties that will have some default value to start with, but you can actually change them for your step instance, and they can be different when you run the step in your sequence. And then, of course, there's custom properties, and they can be anything, because you are the one who create the custom step type, so you decide what custom properties goes into your step type, so you can do that as you wish. So the built-in properties are accessed by right-clicking on your step type definition, go to the properties menu, and then you open. There's somebody talking here. And then you open the properties dialog to see the built-in properties of the step type. And the default properties, they are very neatly named with the name default in front of their names in the dialog here. So they stand out like that. Okay. So we get to functionality and configuration. When you create a step type, you would like to have some run code. It means the code that is running when you actually execute your sequence. You have some editor code that is like the VI front panel I showed you an example of earlier, where you can edit the configuration of your step while you're in edit time. And in some cases, you might also want to have localization for your step types, so you can have different languages depending on what you select for language in TestStand. The code modules, the run code and the edit, they are set up in here in the substep tab of the properties dialog. As you can see here, here's a run code. This is the VI that will run when the sequence is executing the step. And the edit VI here is the VI that will be executed when I press the edit button to configure my step type. Great. So from here is where I will switch to my virtual machine and start doing something actual live. I have started TestStand up already because I want to save time. So what I want to do now is go into the types menu here, tab here, and I want to create a new custom step type. And I would like my custom step type to reside in its own type palette file. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new type palette file. And I'm going to call it NORDLUG demo, like this. So now I have a new type palette file. It's listed as an INI file for historical reasons only, because it hasn't been an INI file for decades, I think. It's not something you can open and edit in a text editor. It is mainly a binary file, but the extension is INI. So now I have this new type palette here, and I can go and create a new custom step type like this. And as with any other property name in TestStand, you can't use spaces, so you have to use like underscore or some other character instead of a space character. Right. So now I've created my first custom step type. So what I want to do now is I go into the properties here, and I go in here, and I want to select the code modules that I'm going to use. So I'll start by adding my edit code module here, and then I'll go and specify the module, and I have of course prepared some code for this that we can use. So it is not in here, but it is in my step types, and I have this PPL where I have my code, and I will select the edit VI for this. It will now load the VI, and you can see here that this is the VI that I have chosen. It has some inputs and an output. So here is the sequence context. I always put the sequence context as an input on the VIs that I make, because it makes them more future-proof. It means that if I, for some reason, from in here need to get access to more TestStand properties when I am editing or running the sequence, this is a place where I can get that access without having to change the connector pane of the VI. I can just use the TestStand API functions inside the VI. So I have to connect this, and it's just this context. It means I will just get the context which I am working in when I'm working with this. So the next one here, it's it's a cluster, a LabVIEW cluster that's going into this VI. And I would like to have a type in TestStand that mirrors or reflects this LabVIEW cluster. So I'm going to create that from here. Like this. And I want it to reside in the same type palette file as my step type, of course. Create. So now I have created a new, not custom step type, but custom data type, as you can see here. Great. So I'm just going to leave this for a second to go in here and make sure that you can see now I have this new custom data type here. And I now want to make a variable or a property inside my new step type with this type I have just created. So I'm going in here. Here we go. I'm just going to call it parameters. Right. So now I can go back in here and edit this one again. And now I know which variable I want to use. So I'll just go here and say, I just unfold this so you can see that it will actually get filled out. Sorry. Like this. And you can see now I have the variables that I want, and it reflects my LabVIEW cluster perfectly. That's the input, and if I edit the stuff I want it to get out again and get saved in the sequence, so I will just put the same variable here. So I read it, I edit it, modify it, and I put it back out in the sequence again when I use my step instance here. Great. So now I have my edit code in place. So the next thing we're going to do here is to add a post step for the run code. So let's just call it run. And yeah, let's specify the module, and then I will talk about afterwards why I am using a post step for the run code, because that might seem odd to people if you're not used to it. But I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select again a VI from my PPL here. It's going to be the run VI. Again, I would like to have the context here. And of course, my run code needs to have the data that I configured, and it needs to execute code on that data. So I have to point it to the variable that I selected here, like this. Right. And you can see also I have an output here called success. So I would like to store that somewhere also. So I'll just go out here and I'll go back to this and I'll create a new field called success, also a field or a variable inside my custom step type, as you can see here. And I will go back and I will, let's see if I select this correctly, like this. And I will specify that variable as my output from here. So now I actually have configured a step type. You can do more stuff with this. Like I could say, what would I have like to? What should the button text say when I press that? It could be configure. Sorry, it is a string. I have to do this. Configure step, something like this, right? But the question I asked before is that why would I use a post step for my run VI? Because some of you that have maybe worked a little bit with TestStand and custom step types before, you will know that out here there is something called a default code module that I could just select for my step, and then that would be executed when the step is running. So the reason that I'm not using this is because this is intended for you as a sequence developer, that you could put in a step instance specific code module. So when you drag your step from the insertion palette into your sequence, you could go and select yourself a code module, a VI of some sort, that would be run here, but it would be different for each step instance of this step type. But the run code that I do here must be the same run code for every instance of the step type that I'm running. So that is why I won't use the default code module for this. I have to use a post step, and that is actually also what NI proposes as best practice for running your code like this. So I'll set this to none, because then I won't be asked to select a VI for this step type, and I don't want to be able to be asked that. Right. So yeah, let's leave this. So now I have a configured step type, and you can see it's already in here in my insertion palette, and I can now drag it into my sequence. And as you can see, it says configure step here, because that's the string I typed into the button, as you saw, or as the menu button you saw before. And if I press this one, it will open my VI front panel. And this is just for something where I can type in an IP address of some sort, and I can set these variables here. And if I say OK, and I open it again, it will remember what I did, because it is stored inside the step parameters of this specific step instance that I have been putting into my test sequence right here. And of course, I can right-click this one, and I can say I want to run it. I don't want to save this one. And it's a bit stupid, because I used the 3-button dialog in LabVIEW for this, so it won't show up. But I can show it like this, so it'll just display the settings that I put into the step. And as you can see down here, I have a preview a variable here, because I have the success output, and I want to show that here. As you can see, as you can maybe see down here, it's a little bit vague in the colors, but it says true for the output. Okay, so I've just built a custom step type here for you to see how it works, how you get started with doing a custom step type. And I'll just switch back for a moment to the presentation, because the next thing, or the last subject here I'm going to talk about, is the deployment and maintenance of your custom step types. Now we have made a custom step type. We have the LabVIEW code. We have the definition of the step type in TestStand in the type palette file. But how do you actually make sure that you have a good and robust way of deploying your step types onto your test systems? So you keep a solid process by doing this. You build your code, you package your builds, and you keep track of versions. These are very important things that you have to consider doing when you are making custom step types or any other component that you want to deploy to your test systems. So always build your source. Never ever do this. So never just make some LabVIEW VIs, put them on your USB stick or whatever, and copy them onto some folder on your tester and run it from here. Yeah, and why shouldn't you do this? Well, because it will cause you all kinds of linking problems when you do this. Many problems will occur from this. So don't do this. I know I have done so in the past before I knew better, but it's not a good thing to do. What you need to do is to apply a build process to your code, and then you need to somehow move your build output on to where you need to have your test steps located on your test system. So this last part here of moving it, I mean, the output could be a PPL, as I prefer. It could be a source distribution, but it's some kind of output that has been through a build process is important. And how do you do the last step here of moving it? Well, you could just move it like a file onto the test computer, but a better way of doing this is doing some kind of packaging and have a package manager control which versions you are using. So you should do something like this. So the process here is extended with a package building process, and you end up with a package output here. Because when you build your your step types for TestStand, you might not just want to have the code distributed or deployed to your system. As I talked about, there can be language files, there can be icons, there can be other kind of files that you want to also distribute with the code, so that you have like a complete package with everything that goes into your custom step type. So then you can use a package manager and you can run the installation process, and that will be the one that helps you do the last step where you move all of your files into the correct locations on your test systems. Right. So let's have a short look at this. I'll just close TestStand here. And I have the code here, the LabVIEW projects that I have created to demo this. So this is like a further version of what I started doing before. I started making my my custom step type inside TestStand with a definition. That definition is now living here in a file in my LabVIEW projects together with other files. Here's the library that will be my PPL. It contains some VIs. And then I have my build specifications here for the PPL and for the package. And then when I have this all together here, I can take my package that I have right here, and I can run the installation with the NI Package Manager. And it's a little bit slow in starting. I can see I'm behind on time already. Wow. I hope it's okay. I don't have that much left.
You're also starting a little late, but yes.
Yeah.
We will try to keep the more or less the time.
So here I'm installing the custom step type with all the files that I wanted it to be installed with. Let's see if it goes right. Take some time. Yeah, it did. Great. So now I will just open the package manager and refresh the view in here. And you will see now there's a NORDLUG demo step type in here in version 1. So the thing about packages is that you can see which version you have in here, and you can also make them dependent on other packages. So you have a control over what kind of dependency structure you are applying to your test systems. That's why packaging is a very good application to use here. And you can see now we have a new folder here called NLOOK, and the step is in here, and it has a nice icon here, which you might recognize, and it's the same as before. It just has to start up the LabVIEW runtime engine here, and you can see it's the same as you saw before. So that is the way it's installed, and it is in here in the same way as we saw before. Sorry, here it is, like this. Okay. The last thing was versioning. So when you have a step type, there's a lot of places where you have to keep track of which version you're having. So the first one up here is for the definitions inside TestStand. This one is for your library in LabVIEW, and this is for your package build specifications or your PPL build specifications. So I just want to say that the thing you have to be aware of, always keep at least the major version synchronized between these. So it all must be the same major version. If you change the major version in one place, you should change the major version in all the places to make sure that you have some kind of control of this. If you have more than one step type in your type palette file, it would be okay if the minor or fixed versions are a little different, because you might just have changed one step type in there and not all of them, but keep the major version in synchronization with this. Great. So I had planned to show you one of our real step types from G-Power, but I think we might be out of time. Or Anders, what do you reckon?
If it's only 5 minutes, I think it's okay, unless there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, of course. It's only 5 minutes. If it is. I just want to open it up and show you what we are doing with that. So the step type is actually installed here, or the step types. So this is the group of step types. You can see there's 4, the one that I was talking about or showing before, and we can put them in here and stuff like that. But I wanted to show you the LabVIEW project that was used for building this. And there's one thing I can talk about when this is loading, because we're using this here in TestStand. You can actually get all LabVIEW types in and out from your VIs to TestStand and back again with the API, except one. That is LabVIEW objects. You cannot read or write a LabVIEW object using the API. You have to use the connector pane of the VI to get those in and out, and that's sometimes a problem. So what we have here is one top-level library here, and then we have sub-libraries for each step type that we create, and then we have one edit VI for them all. And the edit VI looks like this, and I don't know if I can run this without an arrow. I can just try. But what it does is that we have this tree control here, and then we utilize the expression edit control of TestStand. I don't think this will run. Oh, it did. It did. Great. So if I put the mouse here, it brings up like the expression edit control and fits that to the field that I'm at in the tree control, so I can use all the variables in TestStand from here to get my configuration going, and that's a nice thing to do. So different same edit VI but different step types in here. And you can see here there's a lot of extra stuff going on. Also, there's some extra VIs here for deployment, so that I make sure that I get the nice extra folder in the insertion palette that I can install this this step type on different TestStand versions and stuff like that. There's a lot of extra that we have put into this to make sure it all works. You can just the last thing here, you can see that in our package build specification that we have extra stuff going on to make sure that we can accommodate all the things that we want to do. You see a lot of posts and pre-on installed stuff going on in here to make sure it's all put into the right places. Right. Yes, that's all about it. So this presentation was inspired by the TestStand custom step type development best practices, which is on the NI website, and I would recommend you to go and look at that. I can share a link in the chat after this so that you can actually see what's going on there, because it's a very good starting point if you want to learn about how to best create your own custom step types. And that's it. Time for questions. Okay.
I can't see many others. One fast question. Maybe not. Oh.
I think Anton, you raised your hand during the presentation. Do you still have the question, or is that answered?
No, that was a mistake. I tried to react, but I raised my hand. I just want to agree to the comment that you need to have build and deploy process and not just copy paste stuff over. That just solves so many headaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Christian. There's one in the chat from Iskander. There's actually a couple. Maybe you can start with those.
Yeah. I'll just stop sharing then, and I'll just go and see what it is in the chat. I haven't seen that yet. Okay. To have shared variables. I'll see what shared variables, custom step using locals, file globals. Shared variables between relate. Yeah. So yes, actually, I think I know what that question is about, and you must correct me if I misunderstood that. But actually, that is what we do with the step type I was just showing shortly before. We have like a session object, and that's why I talked about the LabVIEW object. So we have when we open a session to this, this was an OPC connection we were talking about here. So there's a connect and disconnect step, and the connect step, of course, creates the session, and I want to share that session with the read and write steps further on in my test sequence. So yes, you can store variables from your steps in TestStand, in locals or in file globals or whatever, and reread them in the other one. We do that with this LabVIEW object that we pass into a variable in TestStand, and then the other steps will use that session variable to continue. yeah, and we had to do some hacks to actually do that in a good way. But I can show you that later on if you want. Let's see. If you choose a different adapter for your step type, is the step settings part better integrated? So yeah. So if you do a step type where your code is done in like a C#, then you can have better integration with the step settings pane in TestStand. Actually, I went to a TestStand meeting. I think it was a closed door meeting back in 2016 at NI Week, and it came up, this thing, and we asked if the TestStand people there, if it was something they could do for better, and they say yeah, but would it have to work for LabVIEW? And we said yes, and they're like, yeah, it really they didn't want to do that, or they couldn't do it. I don't know. So yes, if you do it with a C# or something, you can have better integration with that. Okay, was there more questions here I have missed?
There's no more question, and I think we should continue. And then if there's something, you can either take direct with you afterward, or maybe if you have some time.
Yeah,
I will give the ball to Eli. I need to find you there. Yes,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You're
okay?
there. Yeah, and now you're also pinned for everybody. Yeah. Welcome to.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I will share slides here in just a second. Let me just give you my full attention first. So I am the director of the software community at NI. I've been at NI just about 19 years at this point. I was the LabVIEW product manager for many, many years. I know I've met several of you on this call. Some of you I spoke with at GDevCon, but I've also often in Europe. But just a few quick notes about myself. I spent a lot of time in LabVIEW and specifically working on LabVIEW for large complex test systems. I went off to go do a different stint in the transportation business unit for a few years. That kind of took me away from LabVIEW and the core of the business, but I have since returned with the specific charter of really re-engaging with the user community and helping to drive the software strategy. And it's been a year now. And we used NI Connect as an opportunity to reflect on the last year and all the things that we said we were going to do, and to gauge the extent to which we had made progress on some of those ambitions. And what I want to attempt to do in the time we have today is summarize the state of the strategy and some of the progress that we've made, both in the product and with regards to the larger overall strategy. I will say that the last several months to year at NI has been a little bit like going back in time. There's been a return to our focus on core products. A lot of core members of the team have come back, myself included, to really renew the focus on LabVIEW and the broad base of our DAC and software portfolio. We still have a lot of work to do, but when in a forum like this, I want to share with you our plans, and I always want to invite feedback, discussion, concerns, because so much of what you're seeing has really been the result of making an effort to engage with our users and to listen to feedback. And I think NI Connect was a fantastic opportunity to do that at a significant scale. I will tell you, my personal takeaway was a lot of enthusiasm and excitement, but there's still a lot of work to be done. I am joined by Austin Hill, who is also a longtime NIer and leads our product management team. Austin, can you confirm that you're on and able to hear everybody?
I am. Howdy. Good morning.
Awesome.
Good afternoon.
Howdy. So between Austin and myself, do you want to give a quick background on yourself before we get into slides?
Yeah, I'll do 1 minute. Like Eli said, I lead our software product management team, which includes LabVIEW as well as TestStand and the rest of the app software. And similarly, I'm really excited. I've been all over software and hardware product management over the past 10 years, but excited to where we're investing in LabVIEW. We get to show you some of the fun new stuff today.
Yeah. Austin and I are very directly involved with all the investments and how we're spending our R&D cycles. I mean, Austin's team specifically owns a roadmap and the investment plan, so he is the right person to share all of your concerns, feedback, ideas, etc. Anyway, there's so much to get into. I I have until 10 o'clock. Is that correct? We have until 10 o'clock. Or sorry, we have an hour from now. I realize you're okay. I see heads nodding. Yeah. All right. So
yes.
awesome. So we're just a few days on the other side of NI Connect, as I mentioned. And when I saw this on my calendar, of course, we've been sharing this a lot in recent months, but I wanted to integrate some of the latest materials from NI Connect to give you an update on some of the things we announced last week. So you're going to see some slides that only people at NI Connect have seen. And to that end, I wanted to try to give you a little bit of a taste of all the things that were kind of announced and exciting at NI Connect. So here's what Austin and I came up with. I will say in an hour, it's a lot to get through. So if anything is really interesting and warrants a deep dive or a follow-up, let us know. And for example, when we touch on AI, that can be a full session into itself, and we can arrange that for a future user group, or if you or your colleagues want to have a deep dive, we can make that happen as well. So this is what we're going to try to get through. Let's dive in. So the software strategy that we communicated at NI Connect is the same one we've been sharing for the better part of the last year. It's really built around these three pillars, with LabVIEW and our software platform at the core of it. When we talk about strengthening software, this means an increased investment, more R&D resources, and people working on the core technologies. And a lot of that is a reflection of, we spent the last several years with a focus on systems and these higher level solutions even. And what you're seeing is a renewed focus on the core products and the broad base, and especially LabVIEW. And at the core of our philosophy to our software, our ambition is that LabVIEW is the greatest possible tool for interacting with the physical world and extending the higher level starting points of the tools it is complemented with. So we just heard a really great overview of custom step types and TestStand. That's a great example. Of course, TestStand has existed for many decades with the ambition of providing a higher level starting point that for anybody that wants to have a test executive, right? We saw too many people creating their own test executive. Same is true for HIL test benches, and even more recently for interactive debugging workflows with software panels and instrumentation, referring to Instrument Studio. So again, the idea here is that LabVIEW needs to be the best possible way to extend and customize those products, but that wherever possible, we want to give you these higher level starting points. And that brings me to these connected workflows. For anyone that's used a lot of these products throughout the years, it is fair to say that we could do a better job of ensuring that as you pass between TestStand and LabVIEW and Diadem, or FlexLogger and LabVIEW, that these tools are really built to play nice together and then maximize the productivity of users as they move between them. So Austin's entire team and how they're structured and how they're defining roadmaps is really built not around these product silos, but around the workflows we target. So think production test, or validation, or data logging, or HIL as examples. And again, the ambition is that as we're investing in our products, that we're really strengthening the connectivity between them and identifying these gaps in key customer workflows, which has given rise to things like Instrument Studio, which I think is a really exciting example of a higher level starting point that makes our tools more productive. Something we don't even plan to get into, but I want to highlight that as an example. Another slide to kind of frame our approach to our software roadmap is, I think it's funny to reflect on, if I were in person, I would ask, but many of our users are by trade electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, often physicists or scientists. Most importantly, not degreed computer scientists, not software engineers, at least not originally. And it's often the case that people start on their journey with test and measurement on the left side of the spectrum. They just want to get some interactivity with the physical world into software. And it works so well because of how great LabVIEW is that they're quickly asked to add additional capabilities and now help this other group out. And suddenly they have to create reuse libraries and care about working with other internal clients. And as was just mentioned in the last session, they care about automating build processes and having configuration management. And my point is, over time, we've turned a lot of our customers by accident into software engineers, right? We've suddenly had them learning about factory patterns and plugin architectures and CI and CD. And it's really, I think, speaks to how we've empowered domain experts to build really sophisticated software. But my point is, when it comes to our investment plans, we recognize that we need to service the right side of the spectrum as much as the left side of the spectrum, right? The tooling and the processes that go into coordinating teams of developers and really achieving operational excellence in terms of efficiency and all of the tasks related to software engineering is in the crosshairs of our focus, in addition to the new user experience and how to enable new people to get started. Some of you may say, you know what, I'm just building simple measurements in a lab bench. And of course, that continues to be something we're focused on. I think the point is, for any of you that identify more with the right side of the spectrum, you're going to see more of a focus on some of the tooling and operational excellence. So at a very, very high level, these are the 8 investment themes that are multi-year journeys and span all of our products. And this is a good slide to take a beat, soak it in. We'll show you some specific examples, and we can come back to this if anyone wants to comment on the relative importance, the priority, maybe things that might be missing from this list. But you're going to see a focus on streamlining time to measurement, referring to that left side of the spectrum, all the way through to development operations, or DevOps, when it comes to CI, CD, containerization, how you submit pull requests via GitHub, et cetera. And of course, as we'll talk about, a lot of that is also very, very integrated with our ambitions to make more of our products open source. There's also a big focus on system security, and of course, continuing our commitment to interoperation with other leading languages like .NET and Python. And as we've set time to talk about, of course, AI. AI was front and center at NI Connect. We had some very exciting announcements. We will touch on those today and give you a sense of when you will actually be able to get your hands on some of those tools later this summer. Okay, but I want to start with the collection of new features and capabilities that were brought to or are coming to the Q3 release of LabVIEW, which is due out here in just a few months. There's a lot. And I think that's a market change from the last few years, because again, we have significantly increased our investment, and we've started to do things like actually return our focus to ID Exchange. So if anyone used to submit to ID Exchange and kind of stopped because it felt like we weren't engaging, you were right. And we've changed that. That's a very concrete example of, I think there are now 13 new features in LabVIEW 2025 that were from ID Exchange. So please do feel empowered to submit those ideas, engage with us. Looking at the slide, there's some I don't even plan to go into, but I want to call out. We stopped releasing LabVIEW for Mac a few years ago. And as a Mac user, I missed it, but also a lot of students in academia prefer and use Apple devices. So based on feedback, we are going to relaunch LabVIEW for Mac, referring to the Q3 release. So that will come back out for Apple Silicon when we release. You can see a number of other ones here. One I want to call out, we got a lot of feedback about PPLs in recent years, about the build time and how long that took. That has been a huge focus area. If you saw the keynote on day 2, I was joined by a consultant who talked about how between the improvements we made to PPLs and some of the open source efforts, they saw build times decrease by 30%. And we've also addressed a lot of the complexities of very intricate class-based architectures like Active Framework and some of the complexities they introduced with PPLs. That is an ongoing effort for us, but we've already seen some pretty big improvements. Okay, let me give you a crash course in some of the new editor features. We'll start with the basics, and we'll go more towards the right side of the spectrum here in a second. So first off, the Q3 release is not yet out as a final product, but you can download the beta at ni.com/beta, so feel free to do so. Austin, remind me the exact date when Q3 is expected to ship.
I believe it's July 12th. It's in the second week of July.
Okay, so coming up pretty soon. Okay, so many of you know we added Zoom just a few releases ago. One of the things we've added to this latest release is this shortcut, so that if you zoom in and you're working on one side of the diagram, you can press F2. It'll return you to no zoom. And then if you move your mouse to another part of the diagram and press F2, it'll then reuse that same level of magnification to zoom in on that part of your diagram. So it just makes it easier to hop around. You can see there, toggle zoom is the F2 shortcut. Of course, it's in the menu. So there we use our scroll wheel and control. We zoom in, we press F2, zooms us back out. I mouse over to the other side, F2, zooms back in. Again, I'm starting with kind of the fun little productivity enhancers that I think many of you will find valuable. There is the ability to now quickly open a specific file. This also came from Idea Exchange using Control-Shift-O. So you can, rather than navigate the, find recents or the program directory, you can just hit Control-Shift-O, type the name, and once it's completed, hit enter to actually open that file directly. So in this one, if we put a diagram disable structure around a portion of our code, as you're seeing here, ref nums and classes do not use default if unwired. So it keeps those wired pass through, just saving some clicks as you add those to your diagram. In context help, we've added additional information about the VI properties. So now when you hover over a VI, you can see things like reentrancy, execution priority, etc. So you don't have to press Control-I and wait and to navigate the VI property dialog to see the state of these various settings. Another Idea Exchange post. Another one. Of course, we all trained to use Control-A to select text, but if you were in a text box and hit that, it would select everything on your front panel. Now, if what's active on your cursor is the string in a text box, it actually does what you would think it would. Another Idea Exchange post. Oh, I hate seeing a slide word wrap like that, and I will blame the fact that we quickly amalgamated content from NI Connect and merged templates. Forgive me. So quick change palette. So here we can actually select a section of code that you want to disable, and you can press the key shortcut Control-Shift-Space. So that's the same shortcut as quick drop to display the quick change palette. So in Q1, you can actually wrap the code in a sequence structure with high resolution relative second calls before and after your code. So that way you can quickly measure the execution speed of code. So here you can see an example, and that's designed to make debugging a lot easier. So when you click there, it should show you, boom, something many people have done to benchmark code, and now you can do it quickly from the quick change palette. Okay, so the debugging window is new in 2025 Q3, and this is basically combining the probe and breakpoint manager. Breakpoint manager still exists on its own, but I think we're kind of waiting to see if it needs to continue existing or if we could remove it from future versions of LabVIEW. So this now lists all breakpoints and probes for all VIs in memory, and this is actually configurable with an INI token, so you can change the format string of what's shown in this box. The right-click menu in the debug window also allows you to add, remove, rename, highlight, and you can export data for probes and breakpoints. You can also disable breakpoints and add and remove probes and breakpoints from the right-click menu here. Let's see, what else here? So you can show and hide probe display. You can keep this window on top. You can keep the values on wires. So again, we're trying to really capitalize on the advantage of LabVIEW for debugging complex software and look for these opportunities to make it even better. This is actually showing from the debug window how you can show the values on the actual wires. So you click that, and that will actually overlay those values during execution. So there you go. You can see them, and then as it executes, you actually see those values populate. Another one too is you can actually export these to clipboard, so you can easily get that into a Word editor or Notepad to more easily see the string value of those data values. And you can rename them, so that way, I know when I end up with a ton of probes, number 16 doesn't really mean anything to me, but you can change those names and make it more meaningful to make it easier to navigate all of the debugging information. Okay, here's a big one. I think safe to assume a lot of us turn off automatic error handling in LabVIEW because we hate that little pop-up dialog, and hopefully everybody does perfect error handling and all of the coding that they do. But there's a new third option now, which is to actually generate a log file based on unwired error. So instead of popping up the dialog, you can actually shove all that information to a log file. And that way it won't disrupt or change the operation of your code, but you will still be able to catch and see those in a log offline. Okay, So that's kind of the easy fun stuff, as it were. I mean, everything's fun, but the editor enhancements that many of us can capitalize on, again, please do feel empowered to submit additional ideas or vote on what is Idea Exchange. I will tell you, we review those every Monday at 9 a.m. with Darren Nattinger. So but let's move on to one of the more right side of the spectrum topics, which is how we're enabling collaborative development workflows. So you may remember that was listed under this DevOps item. This is a focus across the platform. We're going to zoom into some of the new enhancements that are specific to LabVIEW. And I will comment too that when we talk about open sourcing more of the platform, as Jesper well knows, we're talking about working with a global team of people, and they're sharing and working together on LabVIEW projects. And this is really a forcing function for us to make sure that we have world-class, sophisticated tooling and infrastructure in place to enable this, and that we're simplifying some of the complexities that are just the result of LabVIEW being graphical. It is also something that is a really, really popular and important topic for a lot of our large customers. In fact, I was recently working with a customer in Northern California. They have a 50-person team. They have a 50-person team working on a code base that is about 40,000 VIs split across 400 projects. It's all active framework based, and it's all building PPLs. So you can imagine, like, that's a great example of they have some really sophisticated team-based development tools and infrastructure in place to coordinate that. And they're not alone. We see more and more people, you know, again, winding up on that right side of the spectrum, even if their background is mechanical engineering. Okay, so one of the first things to hit is the version independent collaboration. This is something you may already be aware of. It first shipped in Q3 of last year. I bring it up though because it is a precursor towards a lot of these editor enhancements, both the ones we're going to talk about and even the ones we just looked at. So if anyone here is thinking, my team is in LabVIEW 2017 and I have no interest in upgrading anytime soon, 2020 or 2021, whatever, know that it is our ambition that you can upgrade the editor without upgrading your source. So what you're seeing here is the property dialog for the LabVIEW project. You can see you can actually select and specify what version to keep that code base in, going all the way back to 2017. You just can't see it in that scroll wheel. And the idea is you can then open this project in 2024, 2025, 2026, and it will not change the source. It will not change the version of the source. So if one of your teammates is still in LabVIEW 20 whatever, 2021, 2017, they will still be able to work on that code base and it will not change. It will not be upgraded. Now for builds, you still have to use the intended version for a built binary output, but from an editor workflow, you can use all of the new things, all of the things we just talked about, right? So all of the zoom and debug windows, all of those are fully available to you, even if your code is still in the older version of LabVIEW. Now, if we introduce a new syntactical element, as we have, that's not compatible with your prior version, LabVIEW is smart enough to tell you. So I think there's a picture in here. Let's see here. So there we see edit VIs, version independent. Okay, so there, if you look at that screenshot, you can see it's got the red bang that's saying LabVIEW 2020. And in this case, this is showing an example of we've introduced some incompatibility to the code, namely that the connect pane pattern that's been wired into the OpenVI reference, that particular syntactical expression wasn't available in 2020. And so then it gives you that red bang. It takes you to the warning. It will still execute your code. It'll use the newer version of the execution system, but it will warn you, and that way you can ensure you and your teammates stay in older versions. I will say most of the enhancements in recent years have been to the IDE, so expect to be able to take full advantage of most of them without incurring these types of warnings. And it looks like in my haste, I put the same slides in twice. So good. Got it twice. All right. Let's move on to diff. So you've got the version independence. Now your team of developers can more easily collaborate across LabVIEW versions. One of the big things that a lot of people want and expect to use is to be able to compare changes to files. If we're being honest with ourselves, this has not been the most useful of tools. First off, many may know it's available from the tools menu, but it requires that you point it to both file paths. So hopefully everybody has set it up with Git and whatever Git client they're using, so that it's using the command line to pull down whatever version you're comparing it to. But even then, the issue is that the report it gives you is not easy to navigate, easy to understand, or easy to include with a pull request, which is often what we really care about when we actually submit that pull request. Do my teammates clearly understand what is different about this file? So those are our goals with the changes you're about to see. We are making it easier to navigate and understand. So first off, each difference is actually annotated in the differences dialog and the annotation visual. You can see buttons on the differences dialog actually let you copy the images shown directly to the clipboard, making it really easy to then pop those into a pull request. And so there you can see we're actually embedding that pull request and just pasting that image directly into it. In this case, I think in a browser-based Git workflow. We have, oh goodness. Okay, so that belonged in the previous section. Let's come back to that. In the VI comparison report, you can actually generate a report of various file types. So you can see the create report in the bottom corner there. You can generate HTML report, and that can be on a per VI basis or for the entire hierarchy. So you can actually navigate, you know, which files have changed and what within those files have actually changed. Forgive the inconsistency. This belonged in the previous section. Nice little enhancement to the list box, multi-column list box table and tree controls. You now have word wrap options, allows text in the cell to display in multiple lines. And there are new VI properties for reading and writing these settings via scripting. Sorry, thanks for your patience. I'll blame again. We're just out of the NI Connect fog and trying to give you the latest content.
Move fast
okay,
and break things, right? Just move fast.
Yes, sir. Move fast. I'm moving fast. I'm trying to brain dump. Another big one is containerization. So it was mentioned in the last session the importance of having automated build steps for, I think you were building a PPL for the custom step types in TestStand. I've done that. It's not something you want to do manually, especially if you're doing it on a regular basis. And a lot of people use some sort of automated workflow as a part of their source code control. Most often it's a VM running in somebody's computer under a desk somewhere. So you kick off that process. Maybe it's doing static analysis. Maybe it's doing unit testing. Maybe it's building your package or an executable. But increasingly, we're seeing more and more customers really want to use containers. So unlike a VM, a containers is really for the application layer components of your software stack. You can easily scale them up and out based on the volume of demand and the activities required. So you can have a pre-configured Docker container and go launch your unit tests, your static analysis, or maybe spin up different versions for different runtimes or execution targets or configurations. So it's a very common practice to use a Docker container for this purpose. People have done it with LabVIEW. It has been, for the masses, just too hard to configure and set up. So along with the release of LabVIEW 2025 Q3, we will actually be publishing a pre-configured Docker container to Docker Hub. So the simple command line of getting the LabVIEW 2025 Docker image will work. That, of course, cannot let you install kernel level components like drivers, but for the application software components, we are expecting and hoping that this becomes a starting point for automating some of these tasks. We've heard a lot of feedback about asks for a Windows-based Docker container, so I know Austin and the team are actively exploring the viability of that. This is just a first step. I see a few questions coming up, so we'll pause. I'll take a breath. Jesper, what's up?
So just a quick question on how to log into the Docker container. I mean, to activate LabVIEW in that one. Could you elaborate on that?
Great question. I had lots of meetings about the license policy and the EULA to make sure this was allowed. So we have actually modified our EULA to make sure it's permissible. The exact way you activate it, of course, I should know that. And I have to be honest, I don't remember. Austin, do you remember? No. Okay. I'll send a message to somebody. Great question. We talked about setting a string through the CLI. We talked about having pre-configured in the Docker container. I do not remember where we landed on that. So I will make a note.
Depending on how we changed the EULA informed how we did the licensing, but it's in an email somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe I get an answer from the team before the end of this meeting. If I do, I'll let you know. I saw a second hand. Anybody else have a question about LabVIEW and Docker?
Is it also supported in Windows or just Linux? Okay.
Just Linux for right now. Now, thanks to Microsoft efforts, there is the ability to run Windows in a Docker container. So I think the feedback was pretty loud and clear from some of the closed doors discussions at NI Connect that we need to prioritize that as well. And so you can imagine using this to actually automate the execution of your generation of reports, by the way, as an example, to tie that back to the diff and merge utilities, since of course those are exposed via command line interface. Let's see here. All right, so that's kind of a quick crash course. I do have this slide that may have more information on CI and CD activities. Of course, I want to be clear. A lot of people have done this. There are actually some great tools out there. If you guys know Yorick Campbell, he, for example, has a CD tool built for LabVIEW to automate deployment activities. Sam Taggart, a champion based in Colorado, also has a lot of tooling and content on this topic. So I think dev operations is clearly something the community and some of the community leaders have really been advancing the state of the art of. And what we are doing is working with those individuals and working with the open source leadership team to really use that to understand where and how we need to improve the product to better enable those types of tools and workflows. Okay, AI, it's a thing, and it's been a big focus for us and the team. And I'm gonna let Austin introduce you to our efforts here.
Yeah, thanks, Eli. So on the next slide, same slide you've seen a few times now, but within our investment areas, how we integrate AI into the platform has been a big focus for the last year plus. And last time I Connect, we came out and said, hey, we're working on it. We have some ideas, we have some thoughts, but we really wanted to take time to build the right thing right and build it once. And what we've really seen is amazing in the past year or so is the trend in AI continues to accelerate. So on the next slide, as we've looked at how we can bring AI to the market, how is and what AI going to build going to be better or different than the latest Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini update? Because as those tools get more powerful, we need to make sure that our AI tooling continues that trend, but also is focused at test and measurement. And so Nigel is our AI advisor. We'll show you some of the details in a second. But Nigel is really trained and targeted at test and measurement specifically. So while those other AI assistants are going to be very powerful, very interesting for a broad range of topics, we've trained the models that Nigel uses, the data, the deep learning algorithms in it to be focused at what is test measurement hardware, how do you write test plans, how do you do data analysis within test, what is LabVIEW, and how do you write code in LabVIEW differently than how you'd write code in C# or Python. And so we're excited that as we've built up our platform with Nigel, we will actually get the benefit of this rise in AI across the board. Similar to when we built PXI embedded controllers based on Intel silicon, every time Intel released more powerful silicon, our architecture could slot in that silicon and become more powerful within PXI compute. Same idea here, as OpenAI and Microsoft and Google pour billions of dollars into general purpose AI and making their models stronger, we get the benefit of that investment. So even in just the past year, Eli, you can show the next one, we've seen really incredible changes in the industry. From when our last presentation was, we had a small tech preview. If any one of you were involved in that, you could see kind of an early use case of the AI tools last year. We've seen up to 1,000 times reduced cost in how we're sending data and tokens into these models. So one, that's nice on the back end, it's cheaper, but what really is great is for the same amount of money, we can send way more prompt detail, way more like RAG automation, really getting into the weeds of how we're sending information into the LLM to get much better responses. Additionally, we've seen speed increase. A year ago, if we asked our Nigel tools to describe a VI or write some simple code, it could take 1 or 2 minutes, depending on the complexity. And we've seen that come down to 5 seconds, and for most cases, as well as a better context. So as context grows, we can feed the AI tools more context about your LabVIEW VI or your TestStand application. And with additional context comes better accuracy. And then search as well, what content these tools can take in. It's not just text from the web, it's videos, it's documents, it's the deep guts of NI.com and all the knowledge base articles we have internally as well. All of those things really build out a better assistant, and we expect all that to continue. There's no end in sight in how there's really a new Moore's law coming to market on how quickly these AI technologies are growing in speed and in ability to do complex tasks. So all that to say, what that built into is in July, we announced last week that we are bringing the AI Advisor to LabVIEW Professional and TestStand Development System in the 2025 Q3 release. So anyone who has LabVIEW Pro or TestStand Dev today, with a subscription or SSP in order to get 2025 Q3, you will have access to the AI Advisor. So no extra cost, no paying for extra prompts or anything. You just get it included. It's a value add of coming to LabVIEW. Now, in this first release, we've limited the scope to make sure Nigel is really powerful at a smaller number of tasks rather than doing a lot of things mediocrely. And so with this July release, Nigel will be able to give you information about the VIs you have open, give you guidance on how to modify them or your TestStand sequences as well. Where are the settings I need? What is happening within this TestStand sequence? Where is that VI I can't find? Help me find that function or example. Nigel is really this AI advisor sitting on your desk, saving you time, saving you energy that you when you're looking for things and Google gives you a strange result, Nigel can actually go find the help documentation immediately and give you a much faster answer. So next, what is Nigel? So Nigel is our AI intelligence, AI advisor that will eventually be across the NI platform. We've started within LabVIEW and TestStand as we have the most users there. That's the most energy bang for our buck. But over time, Nigel will grow and learn about their whole test application from requirements into writing code all the way into data analysis. Also, with Emerson, there's some benefits of being part of this larger corporation. Emerson has already built a secure cloud operations platform for some of their other products. So we were able to draft off of the investment they've already made on security, on being compliant with a number of standards and state-of-the-art cloud infrastructure. So Nigel is running locally on your machine, but then it's connecting to the greater Emerson cloud instance, as well as the OpenAI models from Microsoft. So one way we've architected Nigel is to really take advantage, like I said, of the investment in AI. And we can actually choose which models are most performant for our applications. Right now, we have a strong partnership with Microsoft in Azure and OpenAI, and their APIs are really flexible. So that they both have privacy and security guarantees, and they have the endpoints we need to go tap into those models. Over time, if we see Google or Anthropic or other teams catch up to where OpenAI is, we have the flexibility to move to those models, or one day, not in July, we'll give you the flexibility to choose the model you would like to use, as long as it's at a certain caliber. So we've built a platform that really connects LabVIEW, TestStand, test and measurement into the AI megatrend here. So there's lots of details here. We use TLS. As we encrypt web traffic, we use mutual TLS between inside the OpenAI models. But overall, we just want to assure you that we've spent some serious time thinking about ensuring safety and security and privacy, which drafts up what Microsoft does, and then we've added on top of it. Last thing, Nigel, we're not training on your data. We're not storing your data on our side. All of your prompts are saved locally in case you need to see them later or send us feedback on how Nigel didn't respond correctly. But we at Emerson and I cannot look at the prompts you're sending, the VIs you're sharing, the test and sequences you're editing. Those are secure and safe on your machine. So let's focus on a little bit, who is Nigel for? What is the kind of target audience here? So in July, like I said, we focused Nigel on a few key use cases. Finding examples, getting started, learning about the environment. In general, Nigel will make everyone more productive. Even Eli and I have been using LabVIEW. I'm sure some of you have been using LabVIEW for 10, 15, 20 years. You will find benefit in Nigel. However, the people who are going to find the most benefit in Nigel are newer and experienced users. Because as we've all seen, as we've all trained people on LabVIEW, there's lots of questions that are maybe not intuitive, or you can't find that right help documentation. We really want to accelerate the onboarding for LabVIEW and TestStand, which we know are really powerful tools, but sometimes a little complex or not straightforward. Where is that setting in TestStand I need? Oh, it's 3 submenus deep. That's not very helpful for a new user. So Nigel is going to be able to find that information quickly, even change those settings without you having to open those menus, and save you time and effort. For more experienced users, really those finding settings, kind of think of it as some of enhanced quick drop capability, advanced operations. Nigel will get you started and make you go faster from an efficiency, from a time savings perspective. So let's dig into a few of the ways, what actually it looks like. I have a demo video. If we have a little bit of time, I can show it live. I don't have my Nigel box handy, but right now with LabVIEW,
Sorry, hang on.
51, please. In LabVIEW, because of the different front panel objects, block diagrams, product windows, Nigel exists as a separate window. So there's this Nigel window here. It is integrated in the IDE with certain shortcuts, but then this assistant window pops out, and you can chat with Nigel just like you would chat with any other AI assistant. You can ask Nigel to describe VIs, get help finding applications, even help guidance on how I should modify this. I want to add logging. I want to make this more parallel. How do I save memory? Nigel will give you recommendations on how to improve your VIs there. It's also integrated into the, we have this lower down. Okay, so on the next slide, I'll talk about how do you get access, and then we'll dig in a little bit. So how do you get access to Nigel? It's a good question. In 2025 Q3, I believe it's in the second week of July timeframe, Nigel will be available. Anyone who has a subscription license or an active service agreement. That could be enterprise agreement, volume license agreement, partner bundle, or just you have a perpetual license with active SSP. When you install and activate LabVIEW 2025 Q3, Nigel is available there. So suites, all of those things. We were trying to go broad in who has access to Nigel. It is going to be installed with LabVIEW. We are working on guidance if you want to turn off Nigel, which is a question we've gotten, totally fair. For security and things, you can disable the ports and disable the services that are running Nigel, so you don't have to do it at all if you don't want to. But Nigel will just come with LabVIEW and TestStand when you go install them. LabVIEW Pro, TestStand Dev, when you install them in July. So let's dig in a little bit on what this actually looks like. So in the IDE, there's a few different places you'll find Nigel. One is in the global search bar up in the toolbar, which used to be global search. Now that search bar includes AI-powered Nigel search. So when you're searching for things, it's searching both all of the palettes and functions you have, as well as the examples installed on your machine. And then in the context help window, there's this handy little discuss with Nigel button, which will specifically focus Nigel on the VI you are giving it context on. So in general, Nigel will answer questions and search for you. But if you want to feed Nigel this specific VI's information, you can hit discuss with Nigel. He will describe that VI. It will process the data that you're focused on. So what that looks like is like this. Imagine on the left hand, the block diagram, you click discuss with Nigel. Basically that comes out that says this, tell me about VI. It'll take a quick snippet, a quick PNG of your block diagram, pull it in and tell you what's going on. It gives you description, all of the controls and indicators in that VI and gives you a rough architectural kind of understanding of what's happening there. We're excited about this feature because all of us have had the experience where you pick up some code that came from somewhere else, maybe a colleague retired, maybe the person you don't think is very good at LabVIEW wrote some code you don't understand, maybe you forgot to write comments or documentation in your VI from 7 years ago. But you can pick up a piece of code, ask Nigel about it, and really accelerate how quickly you're up and running, understanding what's going on there. So even if this example here is relatively straightforward, I'm initializing queues, I'm adding that to the UX, that's fair. But for complex code, especially without any documentation, Nigel will help you go faster in understanding what's going on here. How do I need to make edits? Can you give me just an overview of what this code is doing? Nigel can actually do that even without opening the block diagram. You can hover over sub-VIs and hit describe, and Nigel will open them without you having to load them into memory. It will give you a description of sub-VIs that are on your block diagram as well. So moving on, also getting help. So actually understanding what's going on in each of these things. For example, it's telling you how we're doing error handling, what these different nodes are doing. Tell me about these controls, these indicators. You can also ask Nigel if there's errors or improvements here. So if you want to make updates on a piece of code that you're not as familiar with, Nigel will help you go faster there. The thing I'm most excited about, though, is this global find functions examples. I have this experience often, maybe I'm just forgetful, where I don't remember the exact name of the primitive I want to quick drop. So I'm trying to type something, I'm like, new array, create array. Oh, actually, what I want is initialize array. I didn't type it exactly, so quick drop isn't aware. We want to integrate Nigel in that workflow as well. But now you can actually go up to the upper right-hand corner and say, save data or create array. And Nigel will give you an examples of palette items you might want and an example. So if you don't know how to use that palette item, I don't know how to use TDMS write. Well, there's a TDMS write trigger data example down below that it will surface for me too. I don't think we have a screenshot of it. Eli, stay back on that last slide. What's cool as well, if I can find the GIF, is Nigel also gives you rationale for why it surfaced the results it did. Mm-hmm. So in this example, it's just save data. You can ask Nigel a whole question in this search bar, and it will give you results here. And when you hover over all of these lists, will give you a rationale on what is this guy doing? Why did Nigel surface this? Why is this the best idea for my application? And then you can do 3 things. You can drop that palette, the primitive from the palette or that sub-VI. You can find it within the palette. So it'll both help you fish and teach you to program. So where is write to text file so I can use it next time? Or where is that palette of functions? I want to look at other write to text functions. Other data logging functions, it'll show me where in the palette that is, as well as help. If you click that help button there, it will pull up the LabVIEW documentation for that specific sub-VI or function for you. So it's not just a faster way to search, it's giving you all this rich data around your natural language queries. You don't need to know the right LabVIEW terms, you don't need to know the exact names of things. One search will find all you need to know, give you both the functions and the examples to work it. Okay, and then last thing, Nigel will also help you with LabVIEW Editor and different measurement tasks. So how do I enable the VI server? Here's a bunch of options you have to go through. Also in July, we're not totally there yet, we're still working. Nigel will have a lot more knowledge around hardware. And so you'll be able to ask things like, what is the pinout for this 6363? Which pin should I use for AO7? Help me set the ideal sampling rate for this scope to see this phenomenon. So Nigel is not only learning about LabVIEW and TestStand, but it's learning about test and measurement as a whole. I think that's my last slide on Nigel. Questions? I'll look in the chat real quick.
Jesper has one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Did you also train Nigel on historical data like old PXIs and old DAC cards, so that you can do that, compare these two, tell me which one I need now?
Yeah, in the July release, you'll be able to ask Nigel things like, I have a 6172, I want to move to a different card, help me pick between these two. And Nigel can do some compare on this one has 32 AI, this one has 32 AO. But yeah, it will have that kind of deeper analysis of test and measurement concepts, not just what is a DIO, but why I might need 60 of them, or why 4 extra counters on the X series is better than the B series, or what have you.
Okay. That's a crash course in AI. That's something where if we want to see demos, get our hands on it, of course, it's going to be in the next version of LabVIEW. But also we can follow up if there's additional questions. We have 2 other topics to get through, so we're talking fast. Austin and I had our coffee this morning. Shall we plow ahead? Okay. So the next one is probably a product you've heard about before, SystemLink. I wanted to make mention of this because I personally have seen people light up when you talk about like, hey, if you're walking around with a jump drive to distribute software, wouldn't it be nice if there was a better way? But I've seen the deflation when people realize the complexity and the cost and the time and energy of deploying SystemLink for any even modest scale. And that's the key thing that I want to make this group aware of, is that we announced some pretty important changes to the SystemLink portfolio at NI Connect. For anyone not familiar with it, though, I mean, this is a product born out of, again, kind of that natural evolution of our customers. They do a great job with our products, and suddenly they have 5, 10, 20 systems, half of them in China or India or the US or whatever. And so there's a lot of overhead with managing those systems, getting the data from those systems, ensuring the hardware is working, that the software and the configuration of those systems is correct. And this gave birth to SystemLink some 10 years ago, which initially focused on larger scale enterprise class systems. But it is really focused on the engineering applications, of course, because that's what we do, and all of those activities that really become challenging at scale when talking about distributed, multi-heterogeneous systems and all the multiple embedded controllers that go into them. And it also actually ties back to themes around collaborating with a team. So jumping ahead a little bit, what we've announced a new version of SystemLink that is far more approachable, both in terms of price and complexity. So SystemLink, now the base version, is something that you can install on a Windows server with no services, no support from NI. Of course, we still have our enterprise class system, which is all about IT scale and Kubernetes infrastructure. But most of our customers and most of our partners are dealing with 5, 20, a few dozen systems, and they want to be able to enable these types of deployment and collaboration workflows. So that has given rise to this latest version of SystemLink. It's actually something you can also purchase from distributors like C&Rude if you're interested in evaluating or using it. And there you can see that base version is really designed around teams of 5 to 10 people with up to about 25 different test systems, and enables all those centralized deployment workflows, data aggregation, test asset management, creating dashboards, etc. So I wanted to make that known. Of course, it's always been built from the ground up with first-class LabVIEW integration and APIs for sending data, sending files, building dashboards, etc. If you're building a PPL as your output, as an example, you can package that up as an NI package file, push that to your systems, push out your driver versions, your LabVIEW versions, all thereby ensuring that they are the intended version and that all your systems are the same. So there's a quick snapshot of some of the comparisons. I don't mean to go into too much detail. I'm assuming most people here have at least heard of SystemLink before, but I was really excited and wanted to share the announcement about this lower cost, much easier to install and set up version of SystemLink. Another one of those things where if you want to go deep, you want to have a deep dive between C&Rude or NI, we'd be happy to come back and answer any additional questions you have. But as the community guy, I wanted to end by this third pillar around building community. So we talked about strengthening software. Hopefully it's clear how we're really focused on a workflow-centric approach as we look towards the future of these tools and our investments. When it comes to the community pillar, take a breath. I think this is something that we as a company have come to realize how critically important this is just in the last few years. I think I will go so far as to say we kind of took it for granted in the last decade or so. And of course, people look to Python and they talk about, oh my God, it's such a huge ecosystem, right? The community is massive, and it's true. But the thing that's so different is that Python is used by anyone and everyone for it's jack of all trades, master of none, arguably. And I don't mean to pick on Python. There's lots of examples out there, and there's lots of tools out there. The thing that's so powerful about the NI community and the LabVIEW community especially is that if you get a group of LabVIEW users together, they generally are doing very similar things, right? They're interacting with the physical world. A lot of programming languages exist because they serve different use cases. LabVIEW is a programming language that really focuses on interacting with the physical world, talking to IO, and all of the challenges that are specific and built into that task, because it's non-trivial, as we all know. And so what we really want to do is really reconnect our community and our user base and empower them to do the great things that they do through collaboration with us and with each other. So the community initiative, which again, I run the community program, is split across these 6 pillars. First and foremost, we are making a really big move into open sourcing more of our products. Anyone who's gone to github.com/ni will know that there's actually hundreds of open source libraries that have been up there for years. This is an important change, though, because what we're doing is actually then treating some of those repos as source for the products we ship. And I see Jesper nodding his head because I know he's actively involved with some of those efforts. But the ambition here is that we can radically expand the amount of our software portfolio that is available and open source. The goal here really to enable that collaboration with our users. Going through the other quick pillars, product roadmaps, Austin and his team have not only increased investment, they are publishing the roadmaps to ni.com, which I think is an important change. And I realize I'm stealing my own thunder. So let me get into some specific details here. Let's talk about user events first and foremost, because we're in a user group. So when I first joined the team, as best we could tell, there were about 20, 25 active user groups that were healthy and meeting on a regular basis. And we've already more than doubled that, and we're on pace to easily double it again. So here you can see a little snapshot that's a generated slide that shows where we're having active, healthy user groups and where we expect to have active, healthy user groups by the end of the next 6 months. So I think it's super easy to get to at least 100 active, healthy user groups that are meeting every quarter, just like this one. Many of them are in person, some are virtual. But the point here is that we have a team, Adam being a great example of that exists to support and enable these types of coming togethers of our users. GDevCon is something where we love sponsoring. It's really the ultimate user group. And as far as what we're doing to enable that, there's the obvious stuff, right? We can promote this. We work with our partners like CNRUD to make sure it's promoted, to make sure you have great food, that you can find a venue, but also that you have the online community forum to share and keep in touch with the colleagues between meetings, to share recordings. We also want to do a better job of curating, making content available. Of course, the slides we're looking at right now are something that we expect a lot of user groups will ultimately see and use. But we also want to do a better job of aggregating really, really technical content like the presentation before mine, if presenters are willing to share their insights with other user groups, and of course, to also showcase the internal experts at NI and their uniquely valuable knowledge. So moving forward, that's going to be something that you can expect to see more of. And we also have a growing number of user groups that are actually private to a given account. So if you have a large organization, they want to share best practices across teams. We're seeing a lot of success and interest in those types of user groups. And personally speaking, I do my best to get to as many of these user groups as I possibly can. I'm always so reinvigorated by the level of enthusiasm and engagement at these events. And I think they're just an awesome part of what makes our community special. When it comes to open source software, the 2 libraries we have open sourced so far are the Icon Editor and the Actor Framework. I was joined by a consultant on stage who explained that because of the changes to the Actor Framework, and namely the removal of the cyclic dependency, that we've seen build times get radically faster. But these is just the start. It's 2 repos, and we've used these as an opportunity to really build out the pipelines, define the contribution guidelines. We have PowerShell scripts for how these are tested and validated. And I have an individual on my team, a former, well, I'll say he's still a LabVIEW champion, even though he works for NI, but a LabVIEW architect, LabVIEW champion, Sergio Valderian. He was previously at Conrad and Averna and is now leading the open source initiative and working closely with steering committees for both these efforts. And we are pivoting from really standing up that infrastructure to scaling out this effort. So as a sneak peek, this is kind of our short list of what might be next. No promises, no guarantees. Austin, you, me, and R&D leaders got to get in a room soon and hash through this. But the idea here is we want to radically expand the number of repos very, very soon. And I'll point to something like, of course, Icon Editor and Actor Framework are in the product. And the idea here is that's actually the product source. So if pull requests are accepted, that means it'll ship in a future version of LabVIEW. And you can see other examples of that on here as well. However, something like gRPC is something that is not currently part of a shipping product. It is open source, but not officially supported. And so that's an example where if we do dock it to this program, that's something that we would hope becomes officially supported by NI and potentially released as a VI package from the NI organization. But what we need to understand and evaluate is the feasibility of publishing these, but also the market value and the breadth of impact that these stand to have. And so any input that this group has and what they want to see open sourced, keep in mind, there's a very, very long spreadsheet. And so you're just seeing the top of the spreadsheet that can fit on a PowerPoint slide. We're not actually letting PowerPoint dictate our strategy, though. So there's a lot of things that under consideration. Know that we're biasing towards LabVIEW-based libraries first and foremost, and especially LabVIEW-based libraries that are a part of LabVIEW or LabVIEW-based toolkits. But you can see documentation, even training materials, aspects of other products are also being considered. So input and feedback on this list is welcome. As I mentioned a second ago, when it comes to product roadmaps, we've actually started publishing these to ni.com. So if you scan that QR code, Austin and his team are keeping probably a 6 to 12 month look ahead live and available on our website. So these will be kept up to date as time progresses. And you can see it's not just LabVIEW, but all the products listed there. And this is not just FYI, this is an opportunity to engage. So give us feedback, what's missing, what needs to come sooner. Please do feel free to reach out to myself or Austin if you have thoughts or comments on that. Talking about training and certification, we did announce some important changes to the certification program. So if anyone here or if any of your colleagues or friends have let their certification lapse since 2020, for the remainder of the year, we are actually going to let them get back into a current active status through the recertification point system. And furthermore, we're doubling the point value of events like this. So if you present, that's now 10 points. If you're organizing, that's now 20 points. And we're also going to be announcing a point system for contributing to open source collaborations as well. So again, the idea here is just to make it really easy to get and stay certified, but also incentivize sharing that knowledge and expertise with the community. Last topic. Can you guys still hear me? My AirPods died. I want to make sure my audio is still working. Okay. So last topic is academia. We've heard from a lot of people that we need to really increase our visibility and engagement with students and universities. So we are launching a global program to do a series of workshops at leading universities all around the world. The idea here is to increase the number of students that are graduating with the skill sets that our customers are actively hiring for. We're hearing a lot of feedback that they can't hire enough LabVIEW programmers. We're also hearing they can't hire engineers who have heard of the phrase test and measurement. So the idea here is to really make sure engineers understand what test and measurement is, understand the how to do instrumentation and measurements, and of course how to use tools like LabVIEW to do so. Here you can see me and Norm at University of Texas Austin here in town doing one of these workshops. We've been piloting them at schools all over the place. We've gotten really, really positive feedback. I actually didn't know what to expect from a room full of 20-year-old kids that probably have some exposure to Python and other tools. And I got to say, it's a lot of fun because these kids consistently say like, oh my God, this is awesome. I was at Tufts University and I was helping a group of students use LabVIEW and they were kind of struggling. I suggested they click the highlight execution button. And when they saw that data flow, they were floored. They were like, oh my God, that's amazing. So we are also looking for LabVIEW advocates and champions who want to help us with this effort. If you have a university down the road, if you know a professor, if you work with a group of students and are interested in running one of these workshops, we can provide laptops, we can provide hardware, although it's way harder than it should be to build a set of hardware for these, but I'm working on it. But the idea is we want to provide the curriculum, the materials, the resources to do as many of these workshops as we possibly can. And Ritu has personally funded my teams to actually launch and scale this effort out. So University is another big focus for us. Okay, we're right at time. I got through all the slides we planned to. I hope this kind of give you a really high-level crash course in some of the key themes from NI Connect. If you have any questions or feedback, I think Austin and I can stick around and do our best to answer any thoughts, comments. Hopefully this is what you guys wanted to hear.
Yes, I can see there's maybe one. I want to say thank you very much. I got a lot out of it, and I can see there's a lot of clapping. We will keep the meeting open if anybody has some questions. I think Jørgen still have a question. No. Anybody have some? Yeah, Jesper
Yes,
have a question.
Oh. Yeah. So what I also put in the chat is regarding the open source initiatives. It's of course important that there's a team behind to grab this the project side of it, and of course we're a couple of people involved in the icon editor and also the actor framework. But as the number of projects grow, there's ample opportunity for everyone to join in on this. So if you have spare time and you want to learn something and get some certification points and so on, this is a really good opportunity to get to do some more LabVIEW stuff. So I can only argue that people should definitely join in. So.
Next up is Jørgen.
Me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's really good you're back at universities. I have a lot of cooperation with universities. So I was wondering, and with various professors, I was wondering how should they contact you? I probably won't be dealing directly with you, but I know they would love this.
So like Adam on my team, he's running user groups. I have another person on my team. Her name is Nikita, who is a dedicated program manager for all of our academic efforts. So you can start with me. I can put you directly in contact with her, but she is the point of contact for all of these. She's taking care of, when is the hardware available? Where are we shipping it? What curriculum is it going to use? And she's trying to build out a community page where all of those resources and requests can easily be centralized. We don't have that quite yet. So for right now, it'll be email communication with her and myself.
Could you share that with us or with Anders and he can share it further? So I'll gladly just contact her. It's just, would be nice to know who to contact and like a topic to nail it on.
Yeah, I'll put her email address in the chat as well as mine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. Jonathan, did you have something?
Yes, I had a short thought, but I wasn't sure if to bring it up here now. But when Austin and Eli are here, one thing that I've been looking out in the last years was the dependency management in LabVIEW, and last year with Q4, Q3 of LabVIEW 2023, we had an official release of the JKI Dragon, but since then there has been basically pure silence around it, and the issues on GitHub are not answered or not reacted to, and personally I can say it doesn't work for deployment as good as it should for a released product. So I would love to give us feedback and be happy to help on working bugs out.
Yeah, we know. And the ambition is that Dragon is still a core part of our platform. For anyone who doesn't know, it does a good job of parsing your project and saying, here's the NI packages and the VI packages that you need so you can reproduce it. We expected them to release a new version alongside 2025. So that should still be coming out. It might be slightly delayed past the release of the Q3, but there will be an updated version. And so any concerns about features or things not working, should still be surfaced. You can bring it to us or to JKI. And but it is very much intended to be a core part of the platform for dependency management.
Yeah, good.
But that's, I mean, that's good feedback. It's good to know that you've tried it, and if you've had frustrations with it, I think because it's so new, we're keen to understand those. So don't feel like you just have to take those to JKI. Myself and Eric Reffett I talk to Jim all the time. So feel free to bring those to me, and I'd be interested to keep tabs on how well it's working or not.
Yeah, because it's where many other languages have big advantages with their built-in or grown on package managers, and we have seen many of the user groups that there's many companies or people who have like figured out 1,000 different ways to do it, except in LabVIEW themselves. There's no good standard way that works really good, because like we want to have these tools working good so that they are efficient in our processes.
Just to make sure I capture the feedback. I mean, my personal feeling is VI Package Manager by itself actually does a really good job. But as soon as you need NI drivers and runtimes and so that's where NIPM is supposed to fill the gap. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but there's a lot of complexity with MSI stacks, and so yes, Dragon's supposed to abstract all of that. We know, and we are actively looking at the future of our Starlink technology. Nothing's changing anytime soon. I can tell you that with confidence. But it's a big technical challenge, and we need Dragon to help us out. So yeah, let us know. For anyone that was in Stuttgart with me at GDevCon, you may remember we got some pretty strong feedback about NI Package Manager in that room. That has not fallen on deaf ears. So there is a lot of internal discussions happening about NIPM. The reality is, while NIPM and the aesthetic of it is not awesome, it's actually the byproduct of a lot of the complexity of how our MSIs are built, which is a very, very large multi-decade technical architecture. So there's a lot to unpack there. I don't want to go too deep into it. Please do keep sending the feedback. We are aware and interested.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you.
Yes. No more question. Then I think we will say thank you for today. And thank you for thank you to our presenters, and reach out to me if you want to present something next time in September or in November in Copenhagen or online.
Thank you.